Has it really been 8 months since I've done a reading recommendations video? The nerve. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessie and today I'm going to be doing a book recommendations type video. I actually have an odd number, which kind of drives me crazy. But I have 11 books to recommend to you. I have about 4 romances and then the rest are thrillers. Also, if you guys want more book recommendations, make sure you head over to Jacqueline's channel on Friday. Me, Jacqueline, and Gwen will be hosting our Rex by the Bottle quarterly live show. We're going to be giving specific book recommendations for what you guys are wanting. So it could be something like, I want a steamy romance, or I want a paranormal thriller. Anything like that. Make sure you guys head over to that channel. It is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, I do believe. I will put it right down here in case I'm wrong or if I'm right. But we are going to be going live and basically we're just going to be chatting, drinking some drinks, and just talking all things books and chatting with you guys. Alright, enough of that intro. Let's go ahead and get into these book recommendations. Alright, just because I have less of these, I'm going to go ahead and do the romances first and then I will do the thrillers at the end. So for romances, let's go ahead and do the one that I currently don't own, which is Shipped by Angie Hockman. I absolutely love this one. I recently read this one, I think in March, and it was so good. The back of the book says it's the hating game meets the Unhoneymooners. I have not read the hating game, but I will say this one, I can see why that comparison. It's definitely a hate to love type of trope, but it's also set on a cruise ship in the Galapagos Islands, and I just love our characters, Henley and her sister Walsh. I really hope Walsh gets her own book one day. And then you also have our love interest, and I just think they're so cute, so like there's just so much chemistry that you're rooting for the characters the entire time. It's not that annoying, quirky type of hate to love that I honestly don't really care for. But the other thing I love about this, it really is a mental vacation. It literally takes you on a cruise to a Caribbean type style island. You can literally like feel the relaxation. So if you're needing like a mental vacation, or this would be perfect to read on vacation or by the pool, definitely pick this one up. I think you'll really enjoy it. The next one I have is actually a author duo that I typically don't really enjoy that much of their books, but this one I really loved, and it is Love in Other Words by Christina Lauren. This one is a second chance romance, which I do think I like that trope for some reason. But basically we're following our two characters and you're following them as like teenagers and then as the adults as they meet like 10 plus years later, and something happened between them when they were teenagers and they've never spoken since then, and there's this chemistry between them and you could just feel it. I loved this one. This one has to deal with a lot of grief too, because their main character, you know, lost her mom and you know, is losing her best friend as a teenager as well. I love how this became like a friends to lovers, but it's also like a second chance romance. So I really recommend you pick this one up for something so emotional. And that's what I love about romances. Like I love to like feel that emotion between everyone, not this like smutty or quirky characters. I feel like this one was very well written and is definitely my favorite out of the books I've read by Christina Lauren. The next two should come to no surprise, but they're by the one and only Colleen Hoover. So I have Confess. Oh, I actually have another one. Yay, we have even numbers. Hang on one second. So I actually have 3 books by Colleen Hoover. So the first one I have is Confess by Colleen Hoover. This one I really enjoy. The one thing that really intrigues me about this book is it's about an artist who basically people will leave their confessions at his studio, and he'll take confessions and paint them or make them into artwork, and it's just beautiful. And this book actually has art in the book, which I found really interesting. Like, and it's in color too, which is just perfect. And there's some at the end, but I don't want to spoil it. But basically you have our main character named Auburn, and she is looking for a job, and then she meets this guy named Owen who owns this art studio, and basically there's like this like instant connection, but also there's a lot of other personal things that she's going on with her life where she can't pursue this relationship. And I think that's what I really loved about it, because there was a lot of like family dynamics, I think, and then I really loved this one. And apparently it got made into like a TV show, but I'm still looking for it. I think it's on Amazon Prime, so I might check that one out just because I really did enjoy the chemistry between Owen and Auburn. So definitely check this one out. The next one I want to talk about is actually one that may seem a little problematic, but I actually really enjoyed it. This is a Friends with Benefits type of book by Colleen Hoover, and it's Ugly Love. I liked this one just because it was a little bit more steamy, and it's also got that trope of like the brother's best friend as well, which I somehow magically like. But it does have some problem like areas, like as far as like a woman chasing a guy knowing that they'll never be together. But then I love how the story like ends, like it just like all comes together so beautifully. And I know that's not like the healthiest relationship, and we shouldn't be idolizing men like that, but again, I loved the chemistry. I loved the connection. I did like the whole like cat and mouse type of game. I don't know, like I just really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend picking it up if you're looking for something a little more steamier and something not to take too seriously. The next one is actually, I don't really hear anyone talking about this one, and I don't know why, but it's another Colleen Hoover, but it's called Too Late, and this one is one of her like much older backlists. This one I wouldn't say is like a thriller romance. This is like a dark romance, but basically you kind of have this woman named Sloane, and she's kind of like in a really bad relationship, and she kind of meets this other guy who's in her class named Carter, and basically they have this connection even though he's really good friends with her boyfriend. The stuff that goes down between Sloane and her boyfriend is so toxic, and you're just rooting for Sloane and Carter. Honestly, I want more people to read this one if you think you can handle it. It is very dark, lots of trigger warnings, but I really enjoyed this one, and I think it came together nicely. So definitely check this one out too. Okay, enough with romances, let's get into the dark thrillers. First one I want to mention is His and Hers by Alice Feeney. I really enjoyed this one. I feel like this is my favorite Alice Feeney book. It's funny, I read Sometimes I Lie and His and Hers, and I rated them both 4 stars. However, I think His and Hers was much better. I felt like I was very drawn into the story. I was very invested by the characters. And basically you're following Anna, who is this news reporter, and this guy named Jack, who is a police detective. And you're kind of following their 2 stories, but also you'll get chapters where it's like you don't know who's talking. And with the audiobook, it is like a muffled, like you can't tell if it's a woman or a man. You can't tell who it is, but basically they're talking, I think, to the readers or to the characters, because they're kind of like stalkerish in a way. So basically in both of their hometowns there is this murder that happened, and it comes to find out that Jack has actually had a previous relationship with this girl, and also Anna knows who this girl is. And I felt like how everyone like connected between everything was very good. Like I loved this book so much. I will say the ending was very unrealistic, but I overall really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend it if you're not going to take the ending too seriously. The other book I don't own is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I recently just read this one in a thriller vlog. I will link it up above and below as well, but basically this is one that I rated 4 stars. Thank you, Jacqueline, for letting me borrow your copy. This one follows a woman named Abigail. She's getting married to this guy named Bruce, who's pretty wealthy, and at her bachelorette weekend she actually ends up hooking up with some complete stranger. Didn't even exchange names. So she's like, okay, I'm just gonna forget about it. She ends up marrying Bruce. Well, then this guy shows up on her honeymoon. Yeah, I love stalkers. This one was a wild, crazy ride. I absolutely loved it. The only thing is there was something in that book that I typically do like in books, and it just wasn't very explained very well, and there wasn't a lot of character development, but it's very plot driven. So I think if you like that type of book, you're gonna love this one. Not only that, this is probably Peter Swanson's best book, because all of his books tend to really disappoint me at the end, but their premises are so promising. So definitely check this one out. Also, talking about that thriller vlog, I read The Perfect Marriage by Genevieve Rose. This one I think I rated 4 stars, but the more I keep thinking about it, it's really a 5-star read for me. So I would definitely check this one out. I found this one off TikTok. I feel like a bunch of people on here on YouTube are currently reading it. I know Jacqueline did as well. This one follows a defense attorney, and she's pretty good at what she does. And then she actually gets a call saying her husband is arrested for the murder of his mistress in their lake house. No, that would not happen in my house. I love this one for multiple reasons. For one, it's not really a legal thriller. So if you're thinking like lawyer and like prosecutions, it doesn't really go into too much detail about that, which I really appreciate. Number two, I loved like getting all the juicy tea about everything. It kind of felt like reading a reality TV show. I don't know. I really enjoyed it. And also the very last chapter, holy crap, like I really did not see that coming. It's so good. Definitely check this one out. The next one I want to talk about, I feel like it's one of my OG favorite thrillers, and I know a lot of people have not heard or read about this one, but this is my first thriller ever. Every time I recommend this book or lend my copy to someone, they read it and they're like, oh my god, this was so good. And I'm like, I know. But it is Mr. Perfect by Linda Howard. This is, I think it only comes in a mass market paperback. I've had this thing for years. Not a lot of people have read this one, and I absolutely loved it. This one is about Jane and her 3 best friends that she works with, and they decide to meet one night to have drinks and dinner, and they talk about the one topic: what would make the perfect man? Would it be tall, dark, and handsome, caring and warm-hearted, or would just muscular do? As their conversation heats up, they concoct a tongue-in-cheek checklist that becomes an overnight sensation, spreading like wildfire at work and sizzling along email lines. But what began as a joke amongst friends turns deadly serious when one of the 4 women is murdered. Turning to her neighbor, an unpredictable police detective, for help, Jane must unmask the killer to save her friends and herself. This one is so good. I'm telling you, read this book, come back and let me know what your thoughts were. I loved this book. The next one I would like to talk about is They Never Learned by Elaine Fargo. This one is really interesting because you have this woman who's an English professor at this university, and she's also a serial killer. So it gives me like Dexter vibes. And then you're also following this other girl as she's entering like her, I think it's her freshman year of college. So I don't know, this girl is like a total badass. I think you would really enjoy this one, especially if you like Dexter and like a little bit of a feminist vibe to it. Or if you like books that surround like college campuses, I think you're really going to enjoy this one. The next one I want to talk about is one of the books that I constantly thought of ever since I finished it last year, and I love this one and would highly recommend you check out the audiobook, but it is The Night Swim by Megan Golden. This one has like podcast elements. It's really great as an audiobook, like I said. Basically, this one is about a woman named Rachel. She's a pretty popular podcaster, and she's on her 3rd season, and she wants to go out with a bang. And basically, she's following a rape trial in this local town in real time. So it's not like she's interviewing like previous like convicted convicts and things like that. She's actually talking to people as the rape trial is going on and this decision has been made, and she's kind of getting some backstory. But she's also getting notes from a woman who is basically asking for her help on solving another type of case, and I think this one was so well done. The big twist at the end I did not see coming, and I think you should definitely check this one out if you haven't already. And the last one I want to talk about is one that I just finished, and I buddy read this one with Gwen, and this book was so interesting, and I can see why everyone hyped it up, but it is Playing Nice by J.P. Delaney. This one surrounds the topic, what if your son was swapped at the hospital at birth and you didn't know it till 3 years later? And basically you get a knock at the door and it's the other parents, and they're saying they have your child, you have their child, they were swapped at birth. And basically it surrounds like, what would you do? Would you switch them back? Would you take your biological son and give their son back? Or would you keep your son that you've basically raised and loved for the past 3 years? And oh my God, this book is not a traditional thriller, which I really appreciate. It's very, very different. It constantly has things going on. It's kind of a big book. Like, it's almost like 400 pages, and holy crap, this one definitely kept me entertained to the very last page. I think you should definitely check this one out. I really enjoyed the audiobook too as well, because it had like case reports as well, so I think you should definitely check this one out. Alright guys, that is everything for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you have any book recommendations for me, and make sure you stay tuned for the live show over on Jacqueline's channel this Friday, and I hope to see you guys there. If you have any recommendations that you can't submit the day of the live show, feel free to leave them in the comments as well. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any other videos, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye!